This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. How are you today? It's a bright, crisp November morning, our first show in November, I think. And sorry, just looking at my text for our Survivor pick today. Looks like Dallas today, guys. Ugh. We got a tough pick this week. Listen, lots to talk about. I want to thank first my guest from Friday, Hank Gola from New York Daily News. We had a nice talk about the first half of the football season, some things to expect in the second half. We'll talk a little bit about some of that today, but lots to talk about in the world of sports, right? College football, the upsets continue yesterday with Michigan State falling. I want to talk more about the playoff rankings, and I wonder if Alabama's going to be penalized for their lack of style points yesterday. Good morning, Rick Sherlock, by the way. Good to see you this morning. You know, they struggled with LSU as a 29-point favorite. We'll get into all of that. We'll talk about Aaron Rodgers a bit and my thoughts there and your opinions, obviously. This isn't a political football for me, by the way. This is about somebody's integrity and just the whole thing rubs me wrong. And you guys know how I feel about Aaron Rodgers anyway. We'll get into that. We're going to get into a little bit. We'll recap the World Series a little bit. One last quick recap and take a look at some baseball news. We're heading into a probable lockout here in December, and we'll talk about why that's going to be, what it's going to affect, and stuff like that. So, and again, I want to thank all the groups that will allow me to share this show today. Good morning, Bill Pulver. How are you today? Big Jet fan. I didn't see the Jets on your pick sheet the other day, Billy. So I know the game had already been played, but yes, thank you to the groups that allowed me to share this show to you. It really helps with my viewership and followers. And I had a couple groups actually reach out to me this week and ask me to share my content with them, which is really kind of cool, and I like it. And I'm having another little problem with Facebook all of a sudden. Facebook is just like Billy was embarrassed. Oh God. Another little trouble with Facebook as we talk about the sharing to the groups and such. Now and I don't know what's going on. Usually there's a limit to how many they'll let me share in a day, and that's fine. I get all that. But, you know, after I shared my vlog on Friday afternoon, Friday night, whenever it was, and my show from Sunday or Saturday, Friday, all of a sudden I can't really share it to any groups again. I don't really get it. So Facebook seems to have their own little rules, and maybe they know Kenny Gifford is a huge follower of ours. Thank you. Good morning, Kenny. I think I saw your breakfast menu already in our little group chat, but I hope you're enjoying it and staying warm. You can't be on the back porch today unless you're bundled up, I'm hoping. Almost down to 20 here this morning. Got to be cold up there in Miko. Or I'm sorry, not Miko, Bleecker. Anyway, you can share if you like. Let's get started real quick. I'm going to knock off the baseball first. We'll jump into college football right after that. Drew's here, so we'll talk a little bit. Good morning, Drew. How are you? Congratulations are due to Drew. He'll be traveling this week. His son will be getting married, so I don't think I'm sure we will not see Drew next weekend. He'll be getting married in Paris, not Paris, Texas, Kenny, Billy, but Paris, France. So congratulations on that, and good luck to your travels this week, Drew. So we'll talk a little baseball. Maybe Drew wants to weigh in on a couple of things, right? Here's my takeaway from the World Series, and I want to talk a little bit about the looming lockout, right? So the World Series, it wasn't an awful World Series. The Astros didn't really score runs, but to me, the whole series was indicative of the way that. Whoops, you're welcome, Drew. Sorry. Where am I? Jesus, you guys are putting comments up faster than I can get to them. Drew said, thank you. You're welcome, Drew. We'll get to Georgia again. We're going to talk just a little, a balmy day. And yes, we have coffee on the back deck. Good for you. Well, we're going to get to that in a second, Carlos. We're going to talk a little bit of baseball, then we'll move on to college football. I got a lot of opinions, obviously, about the things that are going on, both with the release of the college football playoff pool and poll and some things that happened yesterday. Anyway, back to the Braves. This whole World Series, very indicative of the way the game of baseball is played today. The Braves get away with it. They almost don't get away with this strategy of pulling starters after 5 innings and 75 pitches. They pulled Ian Anderson with a no-hitter. But that's the way the game is played today, and I don't like it. But I can't get on, I'm going to say his name wrong again, Drew. Snitker. Correct me. And then he had a plan. There was a script through all these games. And in 2 of the games, they had openers. One guy threw 15 pitches. I mean, how can we not have starters in World Series games that go all the way? Not go all the way, I'm sorry. But are allowed to pitch to their max and get your bullpens like we have historically. We have to have 2 openers in a 6-game playoff for the Braves, and the the trend towards pulling your starters. I mean, even Dusty Baker, who's an old school guy, doesn't rely on analytics the way a lot of managers do. Pulls Zach Greinke after 4 very good innings in game 4, I want to say. I think he got away with it and won the game. And Snitker's strategy worked until it started to kind of implode on him a little bit. So I don't know. To me, look at entertaining series. I know the numbers were way down for viewership, which is going to continue. It's down for sports overall. I mean, baseball shouldn't take the hit for this. It's down overall, right? But the money keeps rolling in, and that's what this problem is going to be with the work stoppage. A couple quick notes, and if you've got any comments on that, yeah, Fried was pulled too. Good point. I mean, sorry about that. Fried was pulled too. Drew, it was a common theme. It was so obvious to me the Braves had a script for every game. I mean, there's no way they just thought there's no way they were just watching the game, had their pulse on their finger on the pulse of the game, and think Ian Anderson's done after 75 pitches with no hits given up. No, the plan was to pitch him 5 innings, regardless of what happened. So look at baseball's we have to get back to its roots a little bit. The analytics have got to go away a little bit. The bullpen, you pay these starters the most money, and then they don't pitch the most important parts of the games. Maybe the opener strategy is right. Maybe the guy should pitch. They should use their bullpen the first 3 innings and use a starter for the last 7 or 6. Makes no sense. There's Kenny's breakfast, by the way, in case anybody's interested. College and any betting form is free. We're going to get to that, Kenny. I'll talk about that. You guys know my feelings on this. As a person who does, let me get to that later. Yankees dumped a couple players. They didn't offer options to Brett Gardner. Well, you got to remember something, too. Doesn't mean they can't renegotiate with Brett Gardner and bring him back. I don't remember all the players that they've not offered contracts to, or the Mets haven't offered contracts to. Or, I mean, I've got a couple of pieces of news here, but we'll dive into all those, the little things. Guardy's a big thing because Guardy's been a great player, but let me get to something here. Sorry. Banners. Where's my banner guy? I will tell you a couple of moves that stand out. Buster Posey deciding to retire after having a really good year this year. It's a bit of a surprise and not a surprise. I mean, he talked and he always has talked about, going out on his own terms. And that's what he's going to do. He didn't win a World Series, but he's won a couple. So it's very interesting. And I bring this up because Posey retires after a really good year. He's a great player, great catcher. And already people are talking him up for the Hall of Fame. So we're going to debate this probably more at a later date as maybe his candidacy takes on more, becomes more, the topic becomes more sense of urgency because he's got 5 years to wait. But if Buster Posey's going to be considered for the Hall of Fame, there's no way my boy Thurman Munson can be out of the Hall of Fame. Can't be. Look at their career stats and tell me why Buster Posey. And we'll get into this. I'm going to get into this with, I'm going to be on the show that I do, the podcast that Mark Mancini, one of his podcasts that he produces out in San Francisco that I'm on a lot on Thursday nights for half hour, 40 minutes sometimes. They're going to be all over the Posey candidacy, guaranteed when the time comes. And I guarantee you they don't think Thurman Munson belongs in the Hall of Fame. Buster Posey's a great catcher. Won 2 World Series titles, but you look at their numbers. I'm not going to bring them up. We're not going to talk about today. I'm just throwing it out there. But Buster Posey and Thurman Munson are pretty much the same player. Pretty much the same player. And by the way, Dusty Baker is coming back to the Yankees. Let's just talk. I got a few things here. Astros bats went cold. I agree. Astros are a really good team. And baseball is tough. You get cold at the wrong time, you lose. Most managers are doing just what ownership tells them to do. I agree. That's why they hire these guys who are on the same page. And it's not ownership, by the way. It's the guys that the owners hire to run the front offices who are controlling this. Just like Brian Cashman is pulling Aaron Boone's strings. Nobody wants to go through the order third time started with the Rays. Agreed. But you know what? Jesus God. A lot of really good pitchers went through the order 3 and 4 times. Well, we'll get into that topic. You can repost that when we get to college. But Billy Ball at its finest, not the pitching part. I like the way the Braves and the Astros both play the game offensively. They do a lot of shifting on defense, which I'm still not crazy about, but whatever. Offensives can stop the shift very easily if they just start playing the game right. And if there was a Billy Martin managing today, the shift would go away in a couple of Billy Martins, maybe. The shift would go away in a heartbeat. Yeah, I can't disagree. I don't like the way it's played. Qualifying offers are coming in, Syndergaard and Conforto. Here's the thing. You got to be careful, right? I mean, the Mets will offer qualifying offers for all those guys. And most teams are going to offer a qualifying offer, depending on what the numbers got to be. Because if they don't, if it's not accepted, they get a draft pick, compensatory draft pick. So that's why the qualifying offers are so important. Correa is not going to, he wants $32 million. I don't think he's going to get it. Not after the Lindor fiasco this year. I'm not sure how we got to Jim Kelly. Velasquez out. Oh, right. Yeah, I know. The Yankees have got to overhaul that team. We're going to see a lot of stuff. There you go. I agree. The third time stuff is bold, Kenny. I don't disagree because, again, you're right. They do see each other tons of times through the course of the year. And throughout history, as I said, starting pitchers when bullpens were not important or considered important would see the lineup the same. They'd go through the lineup 4 times. Oh, they offered him. How many years, Drew? I missed that news. How many years did they offer him? No one wants Andujar Sanchez. I didn't think so. I mean, they look at. They're going to have to take what they can get for Sanchez. Yankees screwed up when he had some value, and they were afraid that he was going to actually be what they expect him to be somewhere else. And the Yankees got to stop being afraid about that stuff. Sanchez, I don't care if he goes somewhere and he turns into frickin' Johnny Bench. He's not doing it here. That's all that matters. He needs to go. And Torres might be in the same position now because of his travails. I don't know if he can rebound here in New York. I just don't know if he can. So $32 million for 5 years, man. Well, the Astros want him back badly. And I think they're trying to be proactive here, Drew. So I'm glad you posted that because, the way, if you want to keep a guy from, he's going to test the market, though. And another reason they're getting out early is something I'm going to talk about here in a second. If they lock players out, this stuff's all shut down. So if you want free agents, and then you got to worry about the financial impacts because you don't know what's going to happen with the new CBA. So be interesting. I don't think the Yankees need a third baseman, Carlos. One place I like is Urshela, unless they plan on moving to short. He said he'd be fine playing shortstop every day. As good as he is, I don't know how good a shortstop he could be playing it every day. We'll see. I love his defense. He gets some clutch hits. He didn't hit as good this year as he had in the past, but we'll see. Last thing on baseball, as I said, we're looking at a lockout. I think on December 2nd is the drop dead that if they don't have a new agreement in place, which it's unlikely they will, the owners will lock out the players, which will have a lot of effect. By the way, almost every work stoppage in the last 25 years, in fact, I think every work stoppage in every sport has been a lockout. The owners get out in front of this and don't give the players a chance to strike, which, look, I don't like seeing lockouts or strikes on either side, especially when we're talking about is money. But the owners now get out in front of this stuff. And it's going to impact. And that's why teams are doing some of the things that they're doing and trying to, the Astros should go after Kyle Murray. Kyle Murray's a good baseball player. Better bad football player. He's making too much money. The DH in both leagues is considered probable. I agree. But there's other issues as well. The players aren't making enough money apparently because they're livid about the proportion of money they receive these days, and it's made the economics and competitiveness of their tentpole. That's the tentpole of their position, right? They're not getting enough of the revenue. I must be missing something. The Astros just offered Carlos Correa $32 million a year for 5 years. So that's, again, that's always the crux. But there's on-field issues too. Baseball wants to bring significant changes to baseball to kind of speed it up. This year, as much as they try to speed the game up, still average 3 minutes, well over 3 hours and 10 minutes. They want to expand the playoffs, which I'm way against. And the players may go for it depending on the money situation, right? Now, the good part is when they get into this negotiations, as Drew said, we're probably going to get the DH in both leagues. I can live with that. I don't like it. I as a Yankee fan, I prefer National League Baseball because there's more strategy. I'll get to your comments in a second, guys. Where was I going with that? Oh, so I'm okay. It's inevitable. It's another job. The players are going to go for it. It's more money in their kitty, right? The runner on second to start extra innings is supposed to go away. The 7-inning doubleheaders supposed to go away. So look it. If we can make those things happen, I'll give up and concede the universal DH. But it's all going to come down to money. And by the way, as long as they're locked out, there can be no more negotiations. Free agent negotiations will stop. Trade talks will stop. There will likely be no winter meetings. Well, there will be winter meetings because there's minor league involvement there as well. But you won't see the winter meetings as you know it. And if this carries on towards spring training into January and February, you're going to see a very condensed free agency period, which I think some of the owners want. I think some of the owners want this condensed free agency period so that they can, shorten the window and lessen the time where I can offer Carlos Correa $32 million for 5 years. He doesn't have a lot of time to just go around and shop himself around. Shorten the period like the NFL does, I think would make sense. Let's see what kind of comments you guys got. Trying to talk to Brian Spagnuolo about bringing in Ian Anderson for a Mohawks game. His coach is on the Mohawks staff. Dave Guyette, who I don't think is here today, is a cousin of Ian Anderson, hoping to get him on the show this winter. I didn't know his coach was on the Mohawks staff, though, but you know what? I wouldn't mind talking to Brian Spagnuolo, Rick. I might like to do a show on that, on the Perfect Pitch League in general, and the the Mohawks specifically. I might like to do a Friday show about that. I think it would be fun. The players, minors, and the ones losing money. Well, that's always the case, right? We condensed retracted in the minor leagues this year, 40 teams. We lost an affiliation right here where I am. The Tri-City Valley Cats have been an Astros affiliate for 20 some years, I think. No more. Now they're playing independent league baseball. And that's what'll happen. Further contraction of minor leagues, which hurts player development. And that's why you get guys in the big leagues who can't really play. Well, that's a good point. That's kind of the point I was just making, right? The more you pay these guys, the less money there is to pay guys in the major leagues, and you end up with contraction. These players, I'm not sure where that. I need some context there. I think, Carlos, those contracts for players when they transition, there's a disparity. I'm not sure where we're going there. Owners are like slave traders. That's a little bit. It's probably a little much, Kenny. I don't know that those comparisons I don't ever kind of agree with. Especially when the slaves are making, millions and millions and millions of dollars. At least the top ones, so I'm never a big fan of that analogy, to be honest with you. Yeah, well, I agree. The talent is there, Rick, and that's kind of what I meant. Why baseball is kind of in the state it's in today is they lack fundamentals. Just the basic fact of, the baseball talked a year ago about putting in a rule to eliminate the shift. Don't put in rules to eliminate the shift. The shift is totally legal. Teach guys how to hit where the players aren't. That's the fundamentals that Rick is talking about. They get lost when you contract minor leagues and guys just get rushed through. They don't know situational hitting. They don't learn to hit the ball where they aren't. They don't get a chance to learn base running correctly, how to stay healthy, correctly field. So anyway, this lockout, again, is going to affect a lot of things. It can affect the players negatively. You may see teams. I'm still not sure. We could see a mad dash to signing free agents now, like the Astros are trying to get Carlos Correa locked up real quickly. Or teams could sit and wait, or you could see both, because teams don't know what's going to happen after the new bargaining agreement, right? So they don't know what is going to happen if they sign a Carlos Correa for 32 years, and what other ramifications could come from that. So how much do they get from these contracts? I would say only about 50%. No, most baseball contracts, Kenny. Well, what do you mean? How much do they get? If Carlos Correa signs for 5 years at $32 million, I guarantee you that money's guaranteed. This isn't the NFL. Baseball contracts, as a rule, are almost 100% guaranteed. So where that 50% is going that you're referring to, I'm not sure. Yeah, you know what? These owners got to get smart in 5 years, especially for guys that are getting close to 30. I don't know how old Carlos Correa is. I know he came up fairly young, but he's got a few years under his belt. You've got to stop offering 10-year contracts. Mets are going to learn with Lindor. Yankees learned with Sabathia, 27 years old. All right, well, if he signs a 10-year contract, you're signing him through his age 37 year. How many of these 10-year contracts have the team? And again, I know teams make these deals knowing they're not going to get what's worth at the back end. They have to. Look what Pujols did for the money he was getting paid on the back end of his contract with the Angels. I'm waiting for Kenny's. Before I move on, I was waiting for Kenny's response. I want to move on to college football here in a second. But that's a pretty good debate here. Jason Bay for the Mets. Oh, long-term, yeah. Long-term contract that didn't work out. Go, that's for sure. I guess that's what you meant, Carlos. Your previous... I'm not really sure if that plays in, but I get it. I guess I get it. What's Rip got here? There's a bigger effect on the cities and vendors when the players... Well, that was just ridiculous. Again, I'm not going to get into the whole politics of the thing, but first of all, the effect on cities and vendors and then players as far as contracting, well, if there's a strike, well, a lockout, because there won't be a strike. There can't be a strike if you're locked out. But the contraction in the minor leagues affected, thousands and thousands of jobs when you, as you said, right down to vendors and, maybe those guys aren't making a lot of money, but still jobs. And moving the All-Star game was ridiculous. I mean, everybody knows that. And I'm a little surprised that the commissioner didn't insist they played a World Series in Colorado, which, interestingly enough, has very similar laws to Atlanta or Georgia. Georgia just happened to vote on theirs at the wrong time, apparently. Oh, we can't forget Bobby Bonilla. I think we talked about this, Drew, but I think Steve Cohen should have some fun with Bobby Bonilla Day. I'm not sure the date. When's that come up? Every year in June, July. They should have a full event at the stadium at Citi Field and just have fun with it. Because they got to pay him again for, I don't know, what's he got left? 10 or 15 years yet? Smart guy. They never spend the other 50%. I'm not sure. You talk about the players never spend the other 50%. Well, I don't know. A lot of these players mismanage their money and don't seem to have much later on. What's Billy got here? Billy doesn't care how much I play. Players, managers make beer. I got to be honest with you. My opinion as far as, and I'll give it to you now. I didn't plan on talking this long about baseball, but we will. I don't know. First of all, we're never going to get beer and hot dogs for $2. I wish we could. I mean, when I went to the stadium on Labor Day, a beer and a hot dog cost me $20, which probably wasn't too bad, relatively speaking. But as far as players getting paid, I've always been in the opinion that you're worth what somebody's willing to pay you. So as long as there's money available to pay people, they will pay them. And I never got into the whole, well, teachers only get X amount of money and firemen. And I get that. They're underpaid people doing very important jobs, but it's not apples to apples, guys. There aren't billions of dollars to pay these guys from, and there is in baseball. Stop going to games. Stop watching games. That'll go away. Oh, the owners own. Well, I'm sorry, Kenny. So you're not talking about the money that they pay. They're still keeping 50% of the money for themselves. Well, that's the crux of the players' argument and why the owners are going to lock them out. And they can't come to agreement on a CBA like that. First work stoppage, and again, it's not really a work stoppage, but it's the first labor strife that we've had since 97. I guess 95. No, they had labor strife after they shut down the season, right? I think 1 year, and maybe it was 97. So you're right. I mean, that's part of what the players want. They want a bigger piece of the pie to go to the players. They want more than 50%. Well, they're getting a lot now, aren't they? But again, if somebody's going to pay them, I'm okay with it. 2035, 15 more years, 14 more years. I'm not good on math. 8%. I love it. You know, Bobby Bonilla never struck me as that bright a guy, but, you know, they just gagged that they want more than the 50%. Well, that's what they want. Anyway, guys, good chat about baseball. We'll talk about baseball a lot more going on. I think I did mention, I did mention what I want to mention there. Dusty Baker was returning to the Astros. I was kind of rooting for Dusty to win, but he didn't get it. So let's move on. Our next topic will be, oh, God, you know, college football madness continues. What happens yesterday? I go off about the college football rankings and Cincinnati being ranked 6th. And the NCAA just totally, I'm sorry, not the NCAA, but the committee totally disrespecting them and penalizing them for style points, right? Putting teams with one loss ahead of them. So Cincinnati, and they were told, I watched the committee chairman interviewed and said, who have they beaten? And by how much? Well, who have they beaten? As I look at the top 10 of the current teams that ranked in the top 10 in the college football playoff ranking, only one team has beaten a team on this list. I'm sorry, 2 teams, because I got to count Michigan State, but now they lost. None of the unbeatens, none of the one-loss teams have beaten anybody on a top 10 team except for Cincinnati, beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. And as far as style points go, because the AAC's down a little bit this year, Alabama squeaks by a horrible LSU team. They're 29-point favorite yesterday. We'll get more into this as we go along, but let's look at some of the scores. I don't know what happens when I take myself off the screen. Let's just take a look at some of the scores from yesterday. Michigan State. Huge win against Michigan last week. I kind of liked Purdue yesterday. I couldn't pull the trigger. If you saw my picks I put up, I was 0 for 3 yesterday on my wagers, which we'll talk about a little bit. The Kenny and Rick's comments about the gambling aspect. But Michigan State puts up a clunker against Purdue. Purdue's had a history of beating teams ranked in the top 3 in the country. I feel like I saw a stat yesterday where we've done it like 12 times in their history. They get beat 49-20. Not a lot of offense played yesterday, by the way. Horrendous efforts yesterday. We'll go back to Georgia. Carlos and Rick had made comments about Georgia earlier. Georgia wins big, 43-6 against Missouri. Missouri was averaging about 35 points a game before this. So this Georgia team, and again, Missouri had their backup quarterback in there, but still, this Georgia team's for real. Interestingly enough, Daniels came into play for Bennett. The only thing I worry about, and Georgia's defense is probably good enough, and the rest of the offense is good enough that you don't need to worry about a quarterback problem. But normally I would say, especially, maybe not so much in college, but certainly in the pros, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks. You need one quarterback. Notre Dame rolled yesterday, 34-6 over Navy. Navy's a bad team this year. But I'll get your guys' comments as soon as I go through this top 25 real quick, and we'll talk about some of the scores. We'll talk about some of the rankings after I go through these. Bama, as I said, squeaks by a really bad LSU team. They're not good. They're not a good team. Their coach is on the way out. They're not a good team. 20-14. So is Alabama going to be penalized come Tuesday night when the next poll comes out for lack of style points and their victory? We'll see. Oregon, they beat, and they were on the road, but they beat again a mediocre to bad Washington team, 26-16. Washington was in this game all the way. No style points won there. Ohio State, 26-17 over a 3-7 now. Sorry, 3-7. Nebraska team. Where are the style points there? Cincinnati, I'll agree, doesn't get any style points against Tulsa, 28-20. Had to score 14. They had to outscore them 14-3 in the second half to get that victory. But Cincinnati still deserves more respect. Michigan wins 29-7, maybe the most impressive win of the top 10 teams. North Carolina and Wake Forest. The ACC's chances of being in a playoff are dead and gone now with Wake Forest losing. Interestingly enough, this does not affect Wake Forest's chance to win the ACC championship, though, because this was a non-league game. It was not on their league schedule. So no defense. I can't, and I feel bad. We've always had positive conversations since I've had Larry Sorensen on my college football show Wednesdays. This week, I can't ignore the fact that this is one of the worst run defenses I have ever seen in my life. Carolina must have run for 400 yards. 300 anyway. Oklahoma State, don't count them out. They're going to get Oklahoma twice, most likely. If they beat them twice, they win the Big 12, and they could still be alive. They could jump some people. You don't know. Baylor's out of it now with a bad loss to TCU on the road. Team probably playing for Gary Patterson, who they're not happy they let go. A&M takes Auburn out of the conversation. A&M can get to the SEC championship game if Auburn beats Alabama, which is not totally out of the realm of possibility. Alabama now has lost to Texas A&M, nearly lost to Florida, nearly lost to LSU. And now they get a good Auburn team at home, or on the road, I should say. Ole Miss comes back and beats Liberty in the Hugh Freeze Bowl yesterday, 27-14. One of the popular upset picks of the day was Liberty beating Ole Miss. I didn't see it. Arkansas beats Mississippi State on a missed field goal to tie the game at the end. Tennessee and Kentucky, no defense here again, 45-42. Tennessee, one of the most inconsistent teams in the country since Kentucky, their third straight loss. North Carolina State beats Florida State, just bad. The Big Ten South remains in flux with Illinois beating Minnesota 14-6. Any one of four teams in that South could go to the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State controls its own destiny in the North, and I think Wisconsin controls its destiny now as they beat Rutgers yesterday, 52-3. Iowa back in contention to play in that game. They do beat Northwestern on the road, 17-13. And Pittsburgh another tremendous defensive game, beat Duke 24-29. Air Force did beat Army did beat Air Force in overtime. I'm sure Rick's got a comment in here somewhere. And we'll get to your comments right now, guys. So, again, nice win for Army on the road. No, that game was a home. Had to be. 11:30 start. That couldn't have been out in Mountain Time, that's for sure. So, anyway, exciting game for Air Force and Army, which I did not see much of because I was busy putting everything away for the winter and trimming everything down for the winter. And Keith is a herding turkey today, man. I worry about getting old. All right, where are we here? Right. I did pay $20 for a beer and a hot dog. I promise you. There we go. Wake Forest sucked it up. Wake Forest really spit the bit yesterday. Bad performance all around. Their defense was awful. And their offense all of a sudden made North Carolina, who has a horrendous defense of their own. In the fourth quarter, they looked like they were the best defense in the country. Although I will tell you, after North Carolina went ahead by 10 with about a minute 10 left, they get an unsportsmanlike penalty stupidly on the touchdown. Two in a row they had. Guys taking their helmets off. Stupid, just stupid. Then he squib kicks the ball. So Wake Forest, with a minute 12 and 3 timeouts, only down 10, gets the ball to 50-yard line. He's fortunate he didn't lose this game because Wake Forest scored a touchdown, sure enough, and still had 30-some seconds left. If they recovered the onside kick, which was right there to be recovered, it was the execution was perfect, and the North Carolina player was very smart to slap the ball out of play, because if he tried to catch it, he was going to get creamed, and there was a very good chance Wake Forest would have recovered that ball with a chance to kick the game-tying field goal. Bad coaching by Mac Jones. Notre Dame wins a game. They could be. They're 11-1, playoff bound. I don't know yet. We'll see, Kenny, but it's one of those things guaranteed. Well, you tell me, Kenny. This is a good, again, a litmus test, and the committee's already shown. The committee's already shown that they're going to take head-to-head competition into play by ranking Oregon over Ohio State in the first week of release of this poll. So if it comes down to, and it very well could, an 11-1 Notre Dame and an undefeated Cincinnati, is Notre Dame going to pass them? They better not. Or that's showing no consistency. Again, the committee chair said head-to-head play matters. Who's Notre Dame got left? Let's take a quick look before I go on. Notre Dame's got Virginia, who's playing pretty good. They're playing them at home. It's a good offense. That's going to be a good game next week. They should definitely beat Georgia Tech, who's not very good. Miami squeaked out a win against them yesterday. And Stanford on the road. Stanford's a mediocre team. Notre Dame should win all 3 of these games, and they should finish 14-1. They're going to be in the conversation, Kenny. There's going to be stuff that happens above them and below them. So we'll see. You did, Carlos. I will give you credit. You said LSU would give them a fight. I didn't think they would, because I thought, and I made this comment, I believe Wednesday night on the college football huddle, if not this week, then last week. I thought LSU had quit on Ed Orgeron. And kind of thrown up their hands. They were not being competitive in games. Well, they were competitive yesterday and had a chance to win that game. Twice this year. I don't have any context there, Kenny. Not sure what the twice this year is. Go Dogs. Scotty Barnes, welcome to the show, Scotty. Good to have you. I hope you're following TGI Sports Talk, and I hope you'll invite your friends to join us as well, so they know when the shows are coming up. Welcome, though. Go Dogs. Rick, you got a brother in Scotty Barnes here rooting for your dogs. I got to tell you, I was very skeptical before I move on. Very skeptical early in the year. And I've still got a little bit of skepticism only because Kirby Smart has had so much trouble winning a big game since he's been there. Won a lot of games. Great coach. But now he needs to he's got to win the SEC championship, and he's got to win a championship. He's got the best team in the country. I think that's clear as a bell. He's got the best team in the country. Now he's got to make it count with a championship, or it's going to be a black mark on him that he'll have a lot of time coming over. Army has an exciting win in OT. Yes, agreed, Rick. I only got to see, as I said, bits and pieces of this game. As I was outside working, I had my phone kind of moving between Wake Forest and North Carolina, and this Army Air Force game was an exciting game. And interestingly enough, they threw the ball in overtime to win the game, which was a lot of fun to watch. Defense doesn't put people in the bleachers. Well, it has historically. I mean, these bleachers have always been full, Kenny. What were the people there before when they were playing defense? I'm not going to games to watch 58, 54 games. I could care less. 58, 55, sorry, in the case of Wake Forest. And I can't watch a game like that. I might as well sit and play Madden if I want to see that type of stuff. Defense still matters, guys. Kenny Gifford, it does if it's a dog's defense. Well, you're good. Excellent point, Scotty Barnes. The defense does matter. It matters in the college ranks. It matters in the pro ranks. I understand people, in this ESPN age we live in, the same things that have ruined baseball and the same forces that have ruined baseball because they want to watch video game baseball and guys standing at home plate watching home runs is going to try to ruin football. Defense matters. When the steel curtain of the Steelers in the 70s was playing great defensive ball, and they won whatever it was, 13-3 Super Bowl against the Vikings. And I'm pretty sure the stands were full, and the TV ratings were 10 times what they are today. Not 10 times, maybe. Well, Kenny's throwing down the gauntlet to our new friend, Scotty Barnes. Don't take offense, Scotty. We have a lot of back and forth, and we have sometimes some contrary. I mean, if you said Alabama, he might have been all over Georgia. I'm sorry, Kenny. Just kidding. Scotty, it's all good debate. We have a lot of back and forth and a lot of disagreements in this room, but it's all good fun. So I don't agree with Kenny here. I think Georgia will beat Alabama. I'm not even sure Georgia's going to get to Alabama because I'm not sure Alabama's beating Auburn next week. Yeah, well, I agree. I do agree that they will beat them. And I do think this is Georgia's year. And this is year they've got to do it, or it's on Kirby Smart. But I don't know. I have my doubts that Bama's even going to get to Atlanta for the championship game, the SEC championship game. Oh, what I forgot. Money. Twice this year. Oh, twice. There is money, Kenny. I try very hard to separate money and sports. I really do. It gets harder and harder every year. I'll talk about the money aspect, but when it comes to playing the game, I got to concentrate on the games themselves. Bama better hope they can be. As I just said, Scotty, agreed. And welcome aboard again. I thought I saw Kenny post. He couldn't post anything. We had a lot of comments today. Great job, guys. Purdue, sorry, 2 and 3 knocked off. They do a great job this year, right? They knocked off Iowa at number 2. Great point, Kenny. This year alone, they knocked off number 2 and number 3. They've had a history of doing it throughout their program's history, is what I was actually talking about. So think Scotty's agreeing with me on Auburn, our generation. But today it's offense. Yeah. It's not good. I hope you're saying it's not. I think I get you, Kenny. But they'll wreck the game if they keep doing this. Solid coaching. I'm not sure where that one goes either. You're a good man, Kenny. We have a lot of fun here, Scotty. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you continue to stay with us and join in. That's Kenny. I do bet. We're going to get on this in a second. Beat me up, Scotty. Bama takes the bark out of your dogs. Oh, God. Anyway, what else did I want to talk about here, college choice? You guys got me all distracted. We talked about Wake Forest. We talked about X&M. We talked about that. Back to let's take a quick look at the conference championship possibilities at the moment, right? The AAC, which is having a down year, we know that. Look at Cincinnati has got to win this conference for this conversation even be relevant, a month from now. And they're not even necessarily, they're a half game behind Houston in this conference. Now they don't have divisions, so both of them are probably going to match up in the playoff game. Houston, let's see who Cincinnati's got left here. They got UCF, SMU, which is not going to be a piece of cake, and East Carolina. So I'm guessing they're going to see each other in the championship game, as the next closest teams have 2 losses. So you're likely going to have Houston against Cincinnati in the AAC. Cincinnati's got to win. Houston's not a bad team. Everybody's banking on Kirby Smart to fold. In the ACC, excuse me, Wake Forest still in the driver's seat on Atlantic, as we talked about, because yesterday's loss to North Carolina was not even a conference game. So they still lead the Wolfpack, who they have to play at the NC State. They got to play NC State and Boston College and Clemson yet. So you could see either NC State or Wake Forest in that championship game from the Atlantic. And in the Coastal, Pittsburgh still leads there with the Cavaliers second at 4-2, and Miami playing better football at 3-2. One of those teams could sneak in there yet. ACC is done as far as the playoff talk goes. AAC, you've got Cincinnati or bust. The Big 12, Oklahoma continues to lead that's right, no divisions here as well. They continue to lead the regular season rankings, 6-0 in the league. Oklahoma State close behind at 5-1, and they have a game with Oklahoma. You're likely to see, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State play twice for this championship in the next couple of weeks, because Baylor lost. Iowa State has got 2 losses. It's very likely this is going to be Oklahoma against Oklahoma State. It's going to be a matter of whether we have a 1 loss or an undefeated team in the Big 12. I don't think Oklahoma gets there with 1 loss. I think Oklahoma State continues to win out. They might get there with 1 loss. I'll come back to your comments as soon as I get over I'm looking at the conference playoffs just so I can kind of look at them as they relate to the playoff. In the Big 10, where we thought things would take care of themselves, they've started to already with Michigan State beating Michigan, then Michigan State losing to Purdue. So in the East, you got Ohio State leading at 6-0. All comes down to this Michigan game. But I don't know what the tiebreaker situation is. If Michigan beats Ohio State and Michigan State wins out, I think Michigan State gets to go to the championship game because they beat Michigan. All going to depend on the tiebreakers. And in the West, you got Wisconsin now. You got 4 teams tied at 4-2. Iowa, Purdue, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Minnesota control their own destiny. They no longer do. I think right now Wisconsin holds a tiebreaker. So look at one team. That's all it's coming from the Big Ten. One team, which is good news for Cincinnati, good news for Notre Dame. Conference USA not going to be a factor in the playoff talk, but Texas San Antonio stays undefeated. That doesn't matter. This league doesn't matter. Pac-12, Oregon wins. No style points, guys. Right now they're leading that North. Probably going to win the North, and they're probably going to get Utah in the championship game. No chance. If Oregon loses a game, they're out of the playoff. Good news for Cincinnati. Good news for Notre Dame and Oklahoma State. Southeast Conference, the one everybody wants to talk about. Georgia's 7-0, 3-game lead in their division in the conference. They're not going to not make the playoff team. That means they won't make it. Double negative there. Somebody help me out. They will make the playoff, the conference championship and the playoff. I don't see any way Georgia goes to the conference championship game. They will win the Big Ten. Big Ten. They'll win the SEC. They'll either win the SEC by winning a championship, or they'll lose to Alabama or whoever and still get in. Georgia's getting in if they lose only one game. And they got Tennessee left. They're not losing to Tennessee. They somehow have, I don't even know who this team is, and Georgia Tech. The team they're playing, somebody tell me, who the heck are they playing? Charleston Southern Buccaneers. How is Georgia playing the Charleston Southern Buccaneers in week 12 or whatever it is of the NCAA season? You tell me. Oh my God. These are the things that just frustrate the crap out of me. And in the West, Alabama beats Auburn. Alabama will be in the championship game against Georgia. If Auburn wins next week, I think it's next week, against Alabama, Texas A&M will end up in the championship game. Either way, I think Georgia, win or lose, is in the playoff, as I said. And that's the conferences that are relevant to the playoff talk. Let's see what we got here. I know we got a lot of comments here. I think that's the last one I saw. Jets have Bark. What? What Jets? Not sure who that was for. Billy, they couldn't beat A&M. They barely beat the... agreed. I agree with everything Scotty Barnes and Rick Sherlock will have to say about Georgia right now. I can't say anything except they have to finish up the task. And that means they need to win. All of it. I just don't know how we got on the Jets here. We'll come back to that. If Cincinnati goes undefeated and Notre Dame is 11-1, I tell you what, Kenny, if that happens, you'll have my head will explode. Number one, there is no way an undefeated Cincinnati can be left out of the playoff over an 11-1 Notre Dame team. Can't happen. By the way, the money is nonsense because the money's already there. The money's been paid for the TV contracts. It doesn't matter who goes to these games. The ad space has been sold. I don't buy that argument. I just don't. Now, Notre Dame being part of the conversation year in and year out contributes to the money as these contracts are renegotiated, and they're about to be renegotiated, possibly as early as after this season, because this playoff situation has got to change. And it's starting to look less and less like it will, by the way, which we can get into if we want to. Kenny Gifford, you can hope, but that won't make it true. Well, Scotty, just remember, you got to take care of business too. And Georgia, as good as they are, you still got to win games on the field. So I still think they will. I think they're the best team in the country. Beamer, you might not want to watch that game. I'm not sure which game he's talking about. We scored 65 points, a points 56. Well, great numbers. Why are they playing Charleston Southern, man? Answer me that. Yeah. It's not just the SEC, though. I mean, look at Oklahoma played Tulane. Well, at least they're a division, an FBS Division I team. All these, this is what ticks me off about the Power 5 schools. It's not just the SEC, Kenny. It's all the Power 5 schools. The Cincinnatis of the world, right? The San Diego States of the world, the Texas San Antonios of the world can't get games against the big guys. I'm not saying they win, but they won't take a chance on losing to these teams. Nonsense. Ratings, agreed. So it matters this year compared to last year. But I guarantee you, Notre Dame getting blown out year after year in these playoffs is not doing anything for the ratings. And I guarantee you, when we go to a 12-game playoff, the ratings will be as good to see Cincinnati or BYU playing Alabama in the first round of the playoff or Georgia in the first round of the playoff as it would be with Kentucky. You're going to get more people watching as you expand this playoff. That's just my opinion, of course. It's happening before, and it's coming up again. I know it's happened before. And they couldn't get Hudson Valley. That's awesome. Good answer, Rick. We wanted to see what. That's a good answer, too. Two Georgia fans with two very witty. Scotty, just so you understand Rick's comment when I asked the question, Hudson Valley's a community college up here in our area with a fairly good football history in the community college world. And then, of course, Scotty talking about the cupcakes. Can I send me the what am I talking about? That sounds like I'm smoking something, Kenny. Oh, the ratings? Come on. Look at once they expand this playoff, I guarantee you. By the way, the ratings are not good for this 4-game playoff as it is. The semifinals have been been overachieving in the ratings area. They just haven't. So, the final, yeah, sure, Monday night. No NFL football, probably. Not really sure. They go up again. No, the playoffs have started. So, look this hasn't been an overwhelming rating success to begin with. I guarantee you when they go to more of a college basketball style tournament with more teams and underdogs, real Cinderellas with a real chance to compete and knock off David or Goliath. David gets a chance to knock off Goliath. You're going to see the ratings improve. Guaranteed. I think Cincinnati should get in if they win out. You're on the same page as me, Kenny. Rick Pauly said you earned a muffin. What do I got to do? Do I have to agree with you, Kenny, to get a muffin? By the way, our remote from Kenny's is not going to be until it gets warmer up there in Bleecker. It must have been snowing today, probably. Well, yeah, Kenny. I give you the argument, and you tell me I'm crazy, but then you tell me the ratings are down because it's always the same teams. And I tell you that if a different team was playing Alabama and they expand the playoff, you tell me I'm crazy and I'm smoking dope. I don't need dope, believe me. Pineapple and coconut. Nice. That's a done deal. All right. Let's move on. Professional football. Before we get into any conversation, because we're going to get into some deep stuff. Let's review our picks from last week, and I'm going to give you my picks for this week. I'll give you my picks for this week. Maybe I won't do it. I may not give you my picks. Maybe I will. I got a lot to talk about. Maybe I'll go back. Because we're going to have, we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers when we get into, when Mark Mancini joins us at 10:25. Let's look at last week's ranking, or last week's winners. Rick Sherlock, who has a few missing weeks because of some trouble navigating the technology of the ESPN site. 10 wins last week to lead the way. Sorry, I'm having trouble reading. Chuck McConnell. Where are you, Chuck McConnell? Come into the room one day. We need to meet you and make sure you're following the league in case you were to win. Drew Ehrlich gets 9 wins. Mark Matheson with 9. Who else has got 9? Ryan Lehrman, Mickey Delaney, all with 9. Robert Solville, another one that I need to make sure you're following us. You, Ryan, you as well. Mark Robertshaw, 8. Carlos, 7. That's one of your better weeks, Carlos. Just kidding. I have fallen backwards at TGI Sports Talk with only 7 wins this week. Mike Cesar, who was not picked every week, I don't think, had 6. And Poppy's picks, who is Kenny Gifford, comes in at the bottom with, sorry about that, guys, and 5 wins last week. Overall, our standings stand at this. I'll go through my picks really quick after this. Mark Matheson continues to lead the way with, that's week 10. Let me get back here, sorry. I got to get to the full standings. Mark Matheson leads with 67 wins. Ryan Lehrman, you better make sure you're following us, Ryan, so you're eligible for that $100 Amazon card. Mark Robertshaw at 64. Carlos at 62, really pressuring the leaders. Keith from TGI Sports Talk, he's a loser, but he is at 61. Drew chasing me closely at 59. Kenny holding in there at 57. Mike Cesar at 56. Mickey Delaney, who has missed a few weeks, is at 50 as well. Rick Sherlock at 52. Missed you, sorry there, Rick. Rick, if you hadn't missed those couple weeks, man, you'd be right up there. And then I'm not sure if the rest of us are playing anymore. Chuck McConnell, he did win this last week, so he's playing some weeks. He's got 47 total. And Mark Mancini, he stopped picking because he was doing so bad, apparently. So that's that. Let's get into this week's picks, shall we? Well, maybe we'll do some other stuff, then we'll get into the picks. What should we do? I'm so torn on what we should do here this morning. Chuck McConnell is my ghost pickers. What? What are you saying? Who is that? I need some explanation there, Kenny. All right, let's do my picks quick. Oh, hey, I'm back. How are you guys? Sorry about that. Clicking too many things around. Kenny, still give me some explanation on that Chuck McConnell comment. I'm not sure what that means. So let's get into the picks this week. Here's Keith's picks. Keith had the Jets plus 10.5 Thursday night. How do you do there? We'll move on. I had the Bengals minus 2.5 over the Browns. The Browns are just 2 way up and down. A lot of drama with the Odell Beckham thing. We'll talk a little bit about that maybe. As we talk with more NFL and we talk with Mark Mancini a bit as well. And I just think Cincinnati's going to bounce back. I still think Cincinnati's got a really good defense. Joe Burrow at home, I like their chances. The Cowboys 9.5. Dak Prescott back today. I like their chances against the Broncos. They will be our pick in the survivor pool, I can tell you, for big money. We're down to 111 people out of almost 800, and it's worth close to an 8 with 4 zeros behind it. So you guys can do that math. Where else? Dolphins over the Texans. How can you take the Texans? The Texans are the worst team in football. And maybe Miami might be second worst. So this could be deciding who's the worst team in football. The Saints, even without a quarterback today, I believe they're playing Trevor Siemian, who could not make it in Denver, where they don't have a quarterback still, in my mind. I'd still take them at home over the very inconsistent Atlanta Falcons, and every time I pick the Falcons, they lose. The Raiders, nice win last week. They've done very well since John Gruden left. They've got the distraction of the horrendous traffic accident by the guy's name's escaping me now. Somebody can throw it up here, but just an awful situation. And I really do not want to get into that conversation, at least not today. But it's a sad situation. We'll see whether they can overcome that negative nonsense. I will pick them to win at the Giants. Patriots, you know where my pick is here. It's always going to be on the Patriots, but this team is playing so much better. Panthers got a really good defense. Christian McCaffrey is playing today. We don't know how much or how effective he'll be, but I do like the Patriots win on the road here and continue their path to the playoffs. I told you the guys there'd be road bumps early on for this team, and they've had them. But they beat a good Charger team, although maybe they figured out Herbert because he's had a couple bad games in a row. But this Patriot team gets better on defense. They get better on offense every week. And Mac Jones gets away with a really poor game last week, and the Patriots win despite that. Got to take the Bills minus the points, even in those 14.5 points against Jacksonville, because it's impossible to take Jacksonville in any situation. I'm going to take the Ravens, sorry, Rick, against your Vikings, minus 5.5. Tough pick for me, but every time I pick against the Ravens, they seem to blow somebody out. I'm going to take the Chargers to rebound on the road against the Eagles, who I just cannot believe in. The Chiefs and Packers, I'm taking the Chiefs. They've got to win somewhere. This is a good place to do it with Jones or Aaron Rodgers out. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up. In fact, right after we do these picks, but I got to pick the Chiefs in this spot. I don't think Jordan Love is really in a great spot here. The Chiefs are desperate as well. I like the Cardinals to rebound and win at San Francisco, even though they're a road favorite, 2.5. The Rams 7.5 over Tennessee. Big move by the Rams bringing in Von Miller. I think it was just a great trade, improving an already really good defense. And I know that Mark Mancini will not agree with me when we talk about that. And then there's the Bears at the Steelers. I don't like either one of these teams, but I'll take the Steelers only because I don't trust rookie quarterbacks and the way Matt Nagy handles those quarterbacks. So there you have it. There's the standings. There's the picks. What'd I do? I did a Houdini. Did you guys the way I made myself disappear and come right back? I got a full cup of coffee while I was gone. The guy that isn't in the room. Oh, gambling. I'll go to the gambling thing. All right, hold on. I did miss that. Your man Teddy B just tried defending Rodgers and lying. Let's go to that first. Look, we'll talk about gambling. Oh, gosh, I don't know which thing to go to. I'm going to skip the gambling for right now, Rick. We'll bring that up. That's a topic that's going to stay timely. Maybe we'll talk about it in more depth Wednesday night. And maybe we'll get into a little with Mark today. We'll see. First thing I want to talk about, though, is I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers, right? I don't think I have a banner for that, but what do I got here? I got no banner at all here. I don't have time to get into this. We aren't going to do any NBA again today. That'll make you guys happy, right? Let's just go back to our main huddle. Aaron Rodgers. What was your comment here? What was your comment here, Rick? Teddy Bruschi. You know, I love Teddy. By the way, another one, you got to drop one of the D's. These guys should spell their names regularly. I know. Rick. Don't defend Aaron Rodgers. And this, I don't care. You can decide. And again, there's no mandate that the NFL players have to have a vaccination. None. Coaching personnel, front office personnel, all mandated to get it or see you later. Aaron Rodgers did not have to get vaccinated. He has to deal with the repercussions if he costs his team a forfeit or whatever there is. But your credibility, Aaron, or your credibility sucked with me to begin with because you're a crybaby. Perth guy spelling. Oh, let me get this down here. Rodgers, who says Rodgers nut? Billy, you're right. Rodgers is a nutcase. We got Perth guy spelling, and I'll get his up. Rodgers been consistent. He showed who he was before the season started. I agree. But this, to me, he's taken his credibility down. If it was possible, Aaron Rodgers' credibility's dropped even further. For him to sit here and talk about, he goes on Pat McAfee's show Friday and talks about, you know, all these woke people and political correctness. And look at, there's probably nobody less woke in this country than me. All right. I got to be one of the least woke people walking the face of the planet when it comes to some things. Many things. But this isn't, you know, I don't care if you didn't want the vaccination, Aaron. But when you get asked point blank during training camp, are you vaccinated? And you say, I'm immunized. Any right-thinking person, well, maybe the reporter should have asked a follow-up question. Does that mean you're vaccinated? And then he would have had to either lie or tell the truth. But if you say I'm immunized, and if I ask somebody in the street, I'm going to believe they got a vaccination, not some witch doctor treatment. Which, by the way, he's now been dropped, or they've severed their relationship he has with his healthcare provider. But don't lie. I mean, did he lie? No, he didn't lie. He said he was immunized, but that's what he's. You're trying to mislead people, is my point. If you have your courage or your convictions, you say, no, I'm not vaccinated. I'm not going to because of X, Y, Z. Kyrie Irving, who is a nut job in his own right, who I have spoken out about 1,000 times, at least he says, as stupid as his reasons are, basically only because they told him he couldn't, at least he has some courage of his convictions. Rodgers doesn't. If he had the courage of his convictions and really believed that he shouldn't get the vaccination for whatever reason, then he should have said that when he was asked a question and not try to say, hey, look over there. He loses all credibility, that any credibility had left. I can't do it anymore with Aaron Rodgers. Don't go on TV and say, oh, it's a big overreaction by all these woke people. And shut up, Aaron. This isn't a political thing to begin with. It's not about woke or asleep or unwoke or whatever the opposite of woke is. Somebody please tell me. I'll be happy to learn it. But don't mislead me. That's what you tried to do. And don't try to hide and run from it now. Stand up and say, I didn't get the vaccination because I'm afraid I won't be able to father children in 10 years, or whatever crazy nonsense you want to say. Guarantee you let them shoot you up with stuff to get you on the field, and you didn't know what the hell was in it, by the way. Hypocrite. Perth guy spelling. I only got one more comment on Aaron Drew. Cousins, honestly, Beasley, honest. Rodgers, never been honest. Agreed. Right. Cole Beasley, good example in the NFL, or the NFL. He said, I'm not getting inoculated, and here's why. Didn't try to fool anybody. And then later on try to say, well, I didn't lie. I just didn't tell the truth. God, you're an idiot, Aaron. Oh, Aaron, where's Johnny? I got a new picture if he doesn't show up today. No, he'll be on. He'll be on about 10:25. His phone went dead last week. And by the way, you guys got to know that he said he was going to pick the Jets last week. And his phone went dead. I don't know if I believe him. Somebody call him out on that, would you? If you're watching, Mark, I'm kidding, sort of. He had some family issues he's got to deal with. That's why he wasn't on Wednesday's show. So Mark is still around, and Mark still owes you two Philly cheesesteaks. I've got to figure this whole thing out. Rodgers not worth the discussion. Only bring it up because it's a huge topic of conversation. So we'll move on from the Aaron Rodgers topic, and I'm glad there's not more comment. But I have to get my frustrations out because this is, this guy's an idiot. Some big injuries are going to impact the NFL going forward as well, right? You got, there's one, Zach Wilson out and Mike White out. I'm not sure about how long Mike White will be out. I got a comment about this too, and a way the coach handled this. But some other big injuries. J.J. Watt now out for the year with Arizona. Derrick Henry either out for the year or out for at least 10 weeks probably with his injury last week. Hugely impacts the Tennessee Titans season. You've got Russell Wilson, who's going to miss another month at least in Seattle, and the season may very well be over for them before they get there. You've had major injuries. Kyle Murray's doubtful today. Dak Prescott will be back today for the Cowboys, as I said. Hopefully he's full speed to go. No, nobody's talking about Hunter, is true. What do you want to talk about, Hunter? Tell me what you want to talk about, or the fact that he can't play. There's a lot of injuries. Jameis Winston. I mean, I'm not a big fan, but that's a huge injury for the Saints. He wasn't playing horribly, and plus Taysom Hill's hurt as well. I mentioned Derrick Henry. Devontae Parker's out for the Dolphins. Why all these injuries? Because of the way they practice or don't practice. Ridley's walking away. That's news to me. What's he walking away from, Drew? Oh, let's see what we got here. I haven't looked here in a while. Let's refresh this page. See if there's anything else in the news I'm going to talk about. Other execs are irked at the Packers following the protocols. Unbelievable. Leach touts kicker, quarterback. Yeah, I don't see any news on Ridley. I'm curious what's going on there. Interestingly enough, the Titans do sign Adrian Peterson to replace Derrick Henry. Not sure that's going to happen. Oh, that's right. Hunter. So Hunter's out, leading the league in sacks. Big loss for sure. There's these injuries keep piling up. And I started to say, I think it's the way they practice or don't practice. They don't hit in training camp hardly at all. And once training camp stops, there's no hitting at all. So guys aren't getting hit enough. They aren't building up tolerance. They aren't learning how to avoid hits, right? I mean, that might be the biggest part of it. Kenny, Rick, you guys played a lot of football. Hitting in practice was important. Building up a tolerance to those hits and learning how to avoid them. Calvin Ridley left the team for mental health reasons. Interesting. That's an interesting. He's a great player, man. I don't know what's going on there. I'll look more into that, and we'll talk about it as we go forward. I don't like to see. I mean, it's becoming a big thing, a big topic of conversation in sports is the mental health and the seriousness with which it's taken. I mean, just because a guy's making a boatload of money in the NFL or the NBA or whatever does not mean that, they aren't going to have problems like the rest of the world has. Mark Mancini is on his way, Rick. You're going to have your way in a second. I did not know Calvin lost. I didn't know he left last week. I missed that story. So that's some good news right there. Or not good news, but a good job of breaking news for you guys, for me anyway. I'm sure how I missed that story because I'm not tuned into Atlanta the way I probably should be. The only time I've really paid that much attention to Atlanta in the last 5 years is when they were up 28-3 with 5 minutes and 31 seconds left in the third quarter of a Super Bowl. I seem to remember 2017, I believe. So anyway, lots going on in the NFL. We're going to talk a little bit more about that with Mark as he jumps in here in a second. Lots of stuff. We've covered the college football. We'll get into what we got here. I did I did watch it, Carlos, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I didn't take anything away from that other than he's tired of being asked a freaking question. And I think he brings up, and again, I think he brings up, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because we're going to talk to Mark about some other things, but I think he brings it up, in the sense that these are other coaches with the same kind of tenure that he has, the same kind of success that he has, but their names don't come up. And the fact that people think he's tired of being in Pittsburgh and they feel he may walk away at the end of the year. So I think it's a legitimate question to be asking him, to be honest with you. So that's just my take. And we aren't going to spend much more time on that. With that, we'll welcome in Mark Mancini, who pulled a disappearing act on us last week as he claims he was about to pick the New York Jets. I'm not sure if I believe that or not.
I had some alibis on that one. I had some. Thank God Bruce came to the equation and Cabby brought up the Nationals and all that. But
they gave you a little bit of cachet left as far as your picks go, because I told him with the NFL, man, and the college, the man is horrible. If I was taking his picks, I'd be broke. I wouldn't even be able to afford the internet to do this show.
Well, let's back that truck up a little here, man. A week before my birthday, and I will miss you next Sunday. I guess the family's got something planned for my 60th next Sunday, baby. But as we back this truck up, man,
well, happy birthday
Arizona State, Alabama, Michigan, Pittsburgh, baby, all four win yesterday.
And I do have to say, you texted me that yesterday, and I said I would confirm that you made those picks today, right? So,
boy, I'll tell you, man, watch out,
I have
Georgia.
to confirm Mark was the winner on all those picks.
Hey, you know what? I was gonna reach out to our good buddy there, Larry Sorensen. I don't know what he's doing today, but
wow! I'm gonna have Larry. Hopefully, I'll have Larry on Wednesday, and we've had some great conversations up till now, and it's going to be a little bit harder because that game was just an atrocious game for Wake Forest. Their run defense is the worst I've seen, forever. Right, and all, I don't know what happened to their offense. In the fourth quarter, they made North Carolina, whose defense stinks, by the way, as well. They made them look like the best defense in the country. They look like Georgia.
Well, we almost had a party in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We almost, if that guy doesn't fumble, who knows? Cincinnati could be looking. I'm telling you, Keith, it's going to get really interesting here now, down the line, because now we're going to start. Michigan State takes a tumble. Oregon survives. I mean,
this is something I want to talk to you about. So I've been in, you were on the show Wednesday night due to some personal reasons. I hope everything's going well there, by the way.
day by day, but thank you very much, my brother.
Absolutely. And I had, I was on, I had Jim Behringer actually on, and he may be on with us a little bit Wednesday night, just so you know. He's really good, knows a lot about college football, and he's a hockey expert, which we won't talk about on the college show, obviously, but you're going to want to know about him. We got to talk more about him. You might want to get him on some of your shows. He's really good. But we talked about the poll, and I said on this show, I said on the college football show for weeks that when that first ranking came out, no way Cincinnati's going to be in the top 4 because they don't want to put him in there and then take him out undefeated later on. And sure enough, they do it. And I said yesterday or today, I heard the committee chairman talk about who they beat. Well, they beat Notre Dame. They're the only team. I mean, Georgia beat Clemson when they were in the top 10, but they aren't anymore. The only team with a current top 10 win is Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Beat Notre Dame. So, and then they talked about style points, right? Well, Alabama barely beats LSU yesterday. Ohio State doesn't.
Oh, I thought I had
a terrible Nebraska team.
I thought I had Nebraska pulling a surprise.
Well, again, Ohio State doesn't take care of business the way they should with style points. Should style points matter? Or is it about wins and losses?
Well, I think style points do matter, and you got to look at this whole thing. And when they did this thing expansion up to 12, it's going to bring a lot more teams that can, come to the party and do some damage, man. It's going to look like a college basketball tournament. But I will tell you this. We're going to start to see in the next couple of weeks the pretenders and the contenders, regardless if they get in the top 4, because I still think Alabama's gearing up for that showdown with Georgia.
Well, you know what? Alabama's got to get by Auburn first. If they don't beat Auburn, then they don't make the championship game. And you got Texas A&M playing Georgia.
Auburn's been a weird team. And you know what's funny is I got a buddy that broadcasts for Georgia State. Man, they almost pulled one off at Miami.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. But Pittsburgh, baby, 400-something yards. Pickett, 600-something total yards. Boy, it was back and forth with Duke. But this Thursday, they get North Carolina, man. I'm telling you, it looks like a showdown with Wake Forest.
Yeah, Wake with that, even with that bad loss, it's kind of a quirky situation because it's not an ACC loss because that was a non-league game yesterday. Some quirkiness in the scheduling that they had an open week. They decided to play each other a second time. So
the guy, you know what? The guy I like to talk about is Dante Williams, the coach, the interim coach at USC. This guy's a hell of a recruiter. And let me tell you something. If they get a head coach in there, you might want to keep this guy. He's preaching accountability, confidence, energy. You might want to keep this guy on your staff because if they let this guy go, if this guy gets on a head coaching staff, watch out. He's a top recruiter, Dante Williams.
How'd they do last night against your Arizona State team?
They got beat by 15.
I know.
But they Drake London's gone for the year. USC's hurting, and Slovis and Dart, man. I don't know if they're the quarterbacks, but boy, when you look at this Pac-12, man, looks like Oregon's on a roll, and who's going to come after them. Washington tried to get them in the rain, but obviously they came up short.
I'll go back up a second because Carlos is agreeing with your assessment of Pickett.
Yeah,
he's going to be a great pro.
Yep.
It's funny. Wait a minute. Carlos told me you can't pick any ACC teams to play in the NFL. So now you just changed your mind there and said Pickett's the man, Carlos. You got to explain that to me. I don't know if Hartman's an NFL quarterback. I don't know if who's the other big quarterback I'm missing.
Young.
Obviously Howell, Sam Howell for North Carolina. They're too inconsistent. I don't know that they're going to be good NFL quarterbacks, but Pickett looks like the real deal.
Oh yeah, Pitt's rolling. That ugly loss they had, and the bounce back and come in. Narduzzi's got these guys playing some football, so It's not quite 76 with Dorsett and Marino there, but they're getting pretty well close.
Well, tough loss. We didn't get a chance to talk about it on Wednesday's show, but they had a tough loss against Miami, who's playing better. But that was a tough loss for Pittsburgh. They were heading for a New Year's Day bowl game, most likely, if they were able to kind of finish, with one loss.
Yeah, that comes up short. And, who knows? They're going to get a higher than a Liberty Bowl. That'll be darn sure.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Listen, while we're talking about your favorite school at Arizona State, a little controversy there this past week as they fired their sideline reporter. I forget the guy's name now, but as people that, are ostensibly sort of in the media, even if you're definitely embedded in the media. I'm just kind of circling around, like a satellite, but you're definitely part of the media. I mean, because he made negative remarks about the team he's covering, the team fires him. Now I understand, that the team is in control of the announcers and such, but this isn't we have to walk in lockstep with everything that the program's going.
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny. It's a culture that you can't seem to speak your mind because they'll come back and ridicule you. I know I speak my mind on, XM and that Philly show out of WWDB. And, I think the listeners want to hear that. And if you break the facts down and, I'm the most hated man in Los Angeles, but that's okay. And a lot of people have, said, maybe I'm not going to get a job in the city and let's get his credentials pulled. But I'm going to call it like I see it. And if you're going to be critical of a team and you lay the facts down and there's backing behind it, then what's wrong with telling the truth? Some people have a problem of bringing the truth to the table.
Well, truth's always a truth, right? So You bring up a good point, and I know the guys have already made clear they didn't want to necessarily talk too much about Aaron Rodgers any further, but I had some very strong comments earlier. The truth is the truth, and what he spoke this summer was not the truth.
Well, not only that, Aaron Rodgers seems to me like, a cold assassin, He comes in and he dates more women than we change clothes. But at the same time he's doing all these commercials and everything. And, if you're going to stand here and tell people if you've taken the vaccine or not, then you second guess on that. And you go, well, I went here and there, sooner or later that's going to find out, being a Pittsburgh boy. Hey, I'm critical of Mike Tomlin. A lot of people in Pittsburgh go, hey, wait a minute, Mancini, you can't say that. But I've been very critical of Mike Tomlin and said he needs to go. Bring in Frazier, bring in a Bieniemy or something. He's lost his team. And if they don't do anything this year, they're going to, do like they always do. They don't get rid of coaches in Pittsburgh. But I think the problem is if you lay things down and call it like you see it, what seems to be the problem? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is a bridesmaid city I live in.
Yeah.
Show me otherwise.
Yeah. That's a good point. Well, Aaron Rodgers, going back to him real quick, I'd have more respect for him if he had the courage of convictions. Like somebody brought up Cole Beasley. I brought up the other whack job, Kyrie Irving in the NBA, and I may not agree with you. I don't care. If you don't get the vaccination, you don't get the vaccination. And that's your choice. I don't care if you have crazy reasons or whatever they are. But if you're not going to get it because you think there's something wrong with it, then just say that. Don't say when you're asked, were you vaccinated? Don't say I was immunized and then end the conversation because I'm going to believe you. I think you've been vaccinated if you say I've been immunized, right? And then say later on, I didn't lie.
When you look at the other question is maybe the reporter dropped it too, because once he said that, they should have followed right back up.
I agree.
They did.
I agree.
And that let him off the hook. But
he can't come back now and say, I didn't lie, because you also didn't tell the truth.
Right. Well, here's the thing. It just goes to show you that the NFL then, has certain rules. If Aaron Rodgers was not a well-known commodity in the NFL, this guy would have been cut, right out of the bat. But since he is, the NFL is going to look, across the board. And, this is the problem with the NFL when they doled out punishment. I've said this, you go after a Tom Brady, he doesn't cheat on 6 Super Bowl rings. The Colts were using the same footballs. You go after the New Orleans Saints. Who doesn't ante up the money to knock the quarterback out?
Yeah, I had
But
a
then
little
you
issue
throw
with
Ray Rice out of the league, and then you give passes to Odell Beckham Jr., who's causing more grief than more teams than I've seen, people in a high school football game.
Yeah, I had a little issue with Cabby telling me that Tom Brady cheated on 6
Yeah,
Super Bowls,
yeah.
and I'm like,
Don't cheat on.
first of all, Tom Brady didn't cheat on any. And I always had a problem with the NBA. The NBA will look away. The league's full of thugs.
Yeah.
And guys who, they beat women, they do this. We got a guy tragically out in Vegas doing the stuff he did and tragically killed his woman driving 156 miles an hour. Are you kidding me? We don't look the other way, but they don't treat those. But we worry about air and footballs, and we worry about stuff that is just nonsense.
Yeah, we take down Brady. We go after the Nick Sabans, some of these high successful guys that set the bar and they continue to win every year. We hate these guys, but we circle the wagons for all these other guys. It just doesn't make sense. No, you're absolutely right. And,
it's nonsense.
As far as the NBA is concerned, it's a far cry than it was when I watched it growing up.
I feel like it's gotten better the last few years with a couple of teams. Some teams go back and it'll never be the same, right? But you watch when the Warriors were winning. I don't know how I got on the NBA all of a sudden, but we'll stay there since we're there. When the Warriors were winning and the new Knicks style of play, there's still movement. There's back. It used to be like the Knicks with Carmelo, right? He was a black hole. You run the ball down, you give it to Carmelo. He holds it for 20 seconds and he shoots. That's boring basketball. Nobody wants to watch it. But when the Warriors were good, even though it's 3-point shots, a lot of times that they're moving the basketball, looking for that open 3-pointer instead of the, basket or mid-range jump shot. At least we still got that kind of ball movement that you saw years ago in the NBA. And I thought that's not boring basketball in my mind. But isolation, every play, running an isolation play, every play, that's boring basketball. Do you see that if the 3-pointer is never going away, right? And there's never going to stop being an option because they have found out, they do the math, more analytics, right? Making 40% or 35% of your 3-pointers is still better than making 60% of your 2-pointers, whatever the math is. Right?
And the other thing with analytics, I've never been a big analytic guy. And, I know they use the analytics in a lot of things. They use it. The Dodgers use the analytics, but analytics to me doesn't show the perception of a guy, that the drive of a guy. It just tells you, they put it, it's kind of putting a secret potion together. A lot of guys you and I talk to in the business seen the waiver away from analytics to a point. They just don't believe it. And when you look at the NBA, I was blessed enough to see the Lakers and Celtics in the heyday along with the Bulls. To get up to that level, even with the Warriors of winning these last few championships and everything, it's a far cry. There's no way Kevin Durant can hang with these guys, the Birds, the McHales, the Parishes. You throw the Jordans in there, the Lakers and Worthy. I'd take Worthy any day of the week over Kevin Durant, any day of the week. They were role guys. They knew their role. Michael Cooper would lock you down. The NBA was fun back then. Today, it's just a bunch of guys trying to create super teams.
Yeah, I agree. And before we go on, I want to welcome Tim Consilia. I hope I said your name right, Tim. I think I haven't seen Tim comment before, so he may be a new viewer. So we want to welcome him. He stopped watching Phoenix when Barkley retired, so he hasn't watched the NBA in a while. But he is a Cards fan, which you probably like. And Rick wants to let you know that he wants to wish you a happy birthday, and he enjoys busting your stones because he likes.
I like these kind of guys. I go toe to toe in Arizona Thursday night. I'll be going toe to toe with the Jefferson Starship drummer. He thinks he's going to throw me through a table. Maybe I'll throw him through the arena. Maybe he'll land on some coyotes down there.
Well, while we're back in the NFL, geez, I'm all over the board here today. So
that's okay, baby. This is the most must-see, must-hear show sweeping the country, brother.
That's why it's a stream of consciousness. We just jump all over the place. So anyway, back to the NFL. I mean, I have to, your hatred of everything LA is so apparent. I got to disagree with your take on the Rams. Look at the Rams trade for Von Miller this last week, which I think and it was a very slow trade deadline for the NFL, which isn't like the baseball trade deadline in any sense anyway, but this year was exceptionally slow. I think the Rams already had a great defense, and they had one of the better. He's not the Von Miller from 5 years ago, of course, but this is still a great player, and adding him to this defense, I think, makes them the favorite in the NFC East. I really do, because Stafford's played better than I thought he would. This is contradicting some of the stuff I said early in the year after watching them play half a season. I think this team is the team to beat in the NFC, and I know you don't agree, so tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, first of all, I don't know what Kool-Aid is being passed around across the country. Let me break this thing down. The Dodgers and the Rams are mirror images of each other. Andrew Freeman and Sean McVay are joined at the hip. I'm not sold on the Rams. You can get fat on a record now, and let's relive this thing. They've kind of gotten fat, beating the Giants, the Lions, the Texans. They'll get the Titans without Derrick Henry there. They're going to get the 49ers the following week. They're going to get fat here.
Did Tom Brady play quarterback for the Buccaneers when they beat the Buccaneers?
Well, yeah, but I don't think Tampa was at full force there. And that's the thing. And when you look at the NFC is already pretty much set. You got 5 teams already in there. We're going to be playing 10 weeks to figure out who the other 2 teams are. We thought it was going to be the Saints and Vikings, but they have struggled, and one's lost a quarterback. So who knows? We could have the Skins in there. We could have somebody else. But you can't tell me that the Cowboys can match up with the AFC. The AFC has a better defense. The AFC is there's going to be some teams sitting home that if you brought them to the NFC, they'd be better than 3-4 other teams, I think.
I don't disagree with that. But again,
but here's the Rams. The Rams, when you look at the Rams, they're all in. And I've heard this in the slogan of the Dodgers. We're all in. We're going to bring in all these guys. You still got to get the job done. They can't run the ball, the Rams, and they can't pretty much stop that run. So it's going to be interesting. I thought Derrick Henry would have ran roughshod on him. Now, granted, they have Ramsey, they got Darnold there, they got Von Miller. They're bringing in guys, and Von Miller had 110 sacks in Denver, but what has he done lately? And this is an interesting team. I think if you shut Cooper Kupp down, then you can kind of, shut down the Rams offense there. I really do, because I know Stafford goes to them a lot. I'm just not sold on the Rams. I think they're a good team. I don't think they're a great team. And I think anybody from the AFC, whether it's a Buffalo or some of those other teams, can take the Rams or anybody out in the NFC, except maybe Tampa.
Well, our new friend Tim agrees with you. He's a big Arizona fan, so he thinks everyone's on the LA hype like you are. I was on, Tim, just to let you know. I thought the Cardinals, and early in the year, I picked the Cardinals to play Tampa Bay in the championship game. I just think the Rams, with this Von Miller acquisition and watching the Cardinals and losing J.J. Watt, which was a big addition to their defense, and Kyler Murray injuries keep creeping up. I just think the Rams are a little bit better. By the way, Rick, I think caught you saying Redskins, so you're gonna have to put a $20 fine.
Yeah, I got to put more things in the thing. I still owe him.
I owe about $1,000 to the Redskins bucket. So
yeah, what happened to those boys, man? 2 and 6.
I think one of the biggest stories. Yeah, one of the biggest disappointments. I had Hank Gola from the New York Daily News on Friday. And we talked about some of the biggest disappointments in the NFL, and one of them was the Washington's defense. I mean, I thought they were going to be all world, this defense, and they're the worst. They may be the worst in the NFL.
You know what? I know it's tough to say, but I think they've kind of tuned out Ron Rivera there. I don't know if Ron Rivera is the right coach. I think he falls into Steve Spurrier, the Jay Gruden type of thing. We need a Gibbs type back, a George Allen type.
He's better than those two guys. He's better than those two guys. But I agree that they may need a new voice, but I can't put him in a Jay Gruden and Steve Spurrier.
Well, I mean, I think I wasn't a big fan of him in Carolina. I know he's had the health issues and everything, the cancer and everything. But this team has been. I mean, it's the topless dancers, it's the season ticket holders going to Aruba or something. I mean, it's the name change. It's Montez Sweat saying we're not taking the vaccine. It's a lot of things going on at in Washington, and it's not Watergate and Rita Giret walking around there. So there's a lot of problems, and this team needs to do something. I really thought they were going to do something this year. 2-6. They're looking at 2-7 coming back from the break, getting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their backyard. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting second half in the NFL, myself. I mean, you mentioned earlier trying to get away from my rant, pinning down the Rams a little bit. You try to get to the AFC, but you're actually right. The AFC is deep, and there's going to be some good football teams that aren't going to make the playoffs.
Well, and not only that, Sean McVay, let's face it, he's on the bubble. If this team doesn't, it's all in. And if you're all in, let's see what you're going to do. But if you're all in and you keep using this mantra every year, you're all in by picking up these key free agents to be like Jalen Ramsey they did last year. You pick them up right at the wire and you pick up a Von Miller. Nobody's going to buy into it. You're getting fat on an inferior record because you're really, and people are buying it. Like, these listeners are saying, they're the media pick because people look at the one-loss record. Sure, the Rams could probably roll in there 14-3, and everybody's going to say, hey, look at, but who have you played? What's your strength of schedule? What's the percentage of 300? I mean, come on, you're going to get rolled. We saw years ago, the Falcons came in here and rolled the Rams in a playoff game.
Well, Falcons had a good team that year, too.
Yeah, well,
and as far as schedules go, you can only the teams don't. This isn't college football. The teams don't pick the schedule, right? I mean,
right?
They play the teams they got to play. I mean, some years it looks really good. How about the years it looks really good, and then during the year it looks really bad because the teams just.
Well, here's the thing. Case in point. Last year when I said on the XM, Kansas City was never tested. Tampa was tested all the way through the playoffs and everything. And they rolled the Chiefs. And look at your Patriots. People look at, they're not that really good. They played Dallas tough. They played Tampa tough at home. Wow. I mean, this team, a score here, a score there, we'd be looking at the Patriots in a whole different light.
This team's getting better and better.
Mac Jones is, man, I'm telling you, great quarter. And you know what? New England and Jacksonville have figured it out. Great quarterbacks. The Bears, the 49ers, and the Jets haven't quite figured it out. Agreed.
Mark, let's move on to our favorite. Well, Rick's been waiting for this. I know Rick was on his comment now. I can't find it out. He was waiting for the best bets are dead solid locks. And let me find the right damn. Can't find my banner. Too many things going on. I got too many banners. We're gonna have to start talking about luck.
I'll tell you one of my locks.
Give me a lock.
I'll tell you, I'm embracing the city of brotherly love here every Thursday. You know that, my friend, on WWDB, that Liberty Bell smack. Look at what the Sixers did. They smacked the Bulls twice in the same week. They've won 11 in a row on them. The Flyers beat the Capitals, and things run in threes, my friend. And at 4:05, you're going to start to see the Eagles run the ball down the Chargers' throat. I like the Eagles, baby, at the link.
All right. There's one lock. Give me another one.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Tomorrow, I'd like to sit back and enjoy if I'm not doing podcasts all night. But I'm going to keep my eye on the Steel City. The Steelers keep it going, and they whack the Bears on Monday Night Football.
Okay, that's good. Good lock. Here's my two locks. I will tell you that the Dallas Cowboys, with Dak Prescott back and healthy, will go to 7-1, one of the most surprising teams in football, and whack the Broncos playing at home today. There's lock number one. And lock number two will be my New England Patriots, favored on the road in Carolina, making Sam Darnold see more ghosts than he saw when he was a Jet, and knocking off the Panthers, who are kind of going in the wrong direction. And the Patriots get better and better, and you'll start to see them improving their playoff position today with a win over the Panthers. There's my two locks. Give me your two. Don't be surprised ifs.
Hey, don't be surprised. I saw the second game of the year. Mike Vrabel took the Titans into Seattle, and everybody thought the Seahawks were on a roll. You saw what happened. Don't be surprised if you see Mancini outside SoFi with the dump trucks. This is a hype train, man. I'm taking the Titans with
man.
or without Derrick Henry. They will still run the ball. I think don't be surprised if they beat the Rams in their yard.
Get your money out, Rick Sherlock. Get your money out. Rams are a lock. What's your other surprise?
Hey, I'll tell you what, everything that's surrounding the Raiders, man, with the Ruggs thing, with the Gruden thing, don't be surprised if the Giants pull one in the Meadowlands today and beat the Raiders.
I
like the Raiders
to
win the division, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised. But all the turmoil, the cross-country flight back there, don't be surprised.
That's a good one right there. I think I was going to take that one. I may get off it just so we don't have the same one. Here's my first don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when the Texans go in and beat the Dolphins and prove they're not the worst team in football.
Wow.
The Dolphins actually are.
What happened to the Dolphins?
Oh, it's really sad. Really sad. I'm afraid one of my favorite ex-assistant coaches, Flores, is going to pay the price there, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And the second, don't be surprised if, I got to come up with a new one here on the fly because of that pick. Don't be surprised, and Rick Sherlock will like this one. The Vikings, after really not looking really good all year, go into Baltimore, and I beat what I think is an overrated Baltimore Raven team, beat them on the road today. I hope Delvin Cook is healthy. I really do, because I like the Vikings to surprise the Ravens on the road today.
That's a big one you're going against. The Ravens have won 11 in a row against NFC teams, and Lamar Jackson's 24-2 when he faces a team for the first time. And this is the first time he's going against the Vikings.
We'll get a couple comments here before we say goodbye. Rick's already calling his bookie. Carlos has got the Panthers to win 24-21. No surprise, because he doesn't want them winning enough games to lose another bet to make, Carlos, right? I know how he's also got the Giants losing because Daniel Jones is terrible. Well, the Bills.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. Don't sit on those Eagles. If they bring that, the Chargers can't stop the run, and the Eagles ran the ball down the Lions' throat. So I would keep going with it. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Interesting.
And they can run the ball. So I would go back, shades of Wilbert Montgomery there in Philly.
Rick's got Zim gone soon. He's got his coach out of here. I got him winning today. He's got his coach out of here. So I don't know. A couple other Raiders. No Raiders win today. I'm not sure. RN. What is that? RN4L. What the heck is that? Raiders Nation for life. I don't know. Must be. Not really sure. He might be elaborate.
Don't worry, Tim, we're going to go there on bullet night or handgun night when they start passing that out at the Raider games.
Tim's living in Hawaii, so I don't know if I like that or not. Jeez.
That was a trademark at the old Oakland Coliseum. I'll just show up on knife night or whatever, man. That place, they need to blow up the Oakland Coliseum, man. Get that out. The A's got to move. Who knows what's going on? Hey, I like Bob Melvin, man, down in San Diego.
Did they hire Bob Melvin?
Yeah.
No kidding. That's a good move. That's a great move for them.
Yeah. Players manager. Boy, the other guy, I don't even know if he knew where the elevator was up in the hotels.
Oh, gosh. I don't think so.
Jace Tingler, man, was terrible.
I don't think so.
And I'll tell you right now, I think the Angels need to go to the general store and get pitching.
Well, that's what they need to be. Season. And we'll talk about this a little maybe next week, but I talked a little about the looming lockout. It's going to be very interesting to see if teams make an early moves or they wait until after this lockout, because once they lock them out, there is no more. There's not going to be any more negotiating with free agents. So,
well, it's going to be interesting. Baseball, they control it. The players control it. So if the owners start to play their games, I think we're going to be in for a long stoppage.
It looks like Carlos does not agree with your. Let's see, who's playing the Eagles? The Chargers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't agree with your pick there. He says Herbert's going to throw and throw for 300. Will rebound today. I think teams might have figured out Herbert. Not that it's anything earth shattering. Get in his face and he gets a little shaky.
Well, they've got a thing circling around in Los Angeles. I think the reward might be up to 30,000. Has anybody seen Sean McVay's playbook? It was lost in the Super Bowl, and they've been searching New England around there. They haven't quite found it. So the reward, I don't know if Garcetti's going to put the reward up more. And the
Yeah.
LA City Council might, sit there and agree on it. But Sean McVay is very distraught, cannot find his playbook.
I'm sure Bill Belichick's probably got it going through it. So, Mark, thanks for coming in today, buddy.
I love you, man. Wednesday.
We'll see you Wednesday night for the college football huddle. We'll have some surprises. Hopefully, we'll have Larry Sorensen on. And,
I'll take it easy on Larry.
I kind of designated myself their good luck charm. And now look what I did.
I don't know. Maybe I'll show up with my Pitt Panthers beanie or something. Who knows? Okay, my brother.
You have a great Sunday. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Love ya.
Guys, I got a couple extra minutes, so I don't have to rush out today because I'm not going as far to watch the Patriot game. I'm just going up the road. So we'll catch up on some of these comments here that I may have just glanced over real quick. Tim, I know you had a bunch up here. Then we got that. Talking about J.J. Watt being a big loss. Agreed. Citing half AFC team as the Raiders. Okay, you grew up a Raider fan, lived in California, now you're in the 70s. I'd love to find out how you got to Hawaii. KC's going down. You know what? Jordan Love's got a tough task in front of him here. Not a good defense, obviously, but they're going to have to score some points, I think, to win this game. Kansas City's a mess, but I think this is a good spot for them to try to start getting some mojo back. Carlos, we know how you feel about the Patriots. I don't know what to tell you, buddy, but at the end of the year, you're going to have to come over to the dark side and admit you were wrong. Because, by the way, the Patriots are not just beating the AFC East. They beat the Chargers last week, who up until then were playing, they've been one of the better teams in football. They're on a downside. The Bills, not sure about your question there, Rick, but I think the Bills will probably win big. But the Bills better watch out for the Patriots. Only a half game out of first place, guys. Yeah, Eagles, we got that. We know Daniel Jones loses. Rick's got his bookie. Hope you guys are getting these bets in early. I'll get you a couple because I got a couple extra minutes here. I missed something from Tim, I thought. Somebody else had something up. Maybe it's an index card like the Oh, Patriots probably had that index card too. It's my guess. Oh, here's a comment I wanted to look at here. Tim mentioned the Chargers did screw over their fans badly, right? We've talked about this a lot. The Chargers, and again, there were some Charger fans there last week, but half of that place was Patriot fans last week. The Chargers are playing 17 road games this year. They need to do something and figure that out. Beautiful stadium. Great for the Rams. Horrible for the Chargers. Their fans are hundreds of miles away. Well, not hundreds, but you know what I'm talking about. All right, guys, I think that's it for today. I want to thank you guys for coming in. I want to thank our new Tim. I hope you stick around and come. Listen, we got play a little background music here. We got Keith, speak. We got our Sunday Stream of Consciousness, which you've joined today. We've got our Wednesday. If you like college football, Tim, please come on in and watch our college football huddle show Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Might be a little late, or it's early for you, actually. You're up early, actually, now that I think about it. The show might start a little early for you on Sundays. And we've got Fridays, which I may guess are getting tougher and tougher, guys. I don't know what I'm going to do on Fridays. I'm going to try to turn it into a debate show. I may need a co-host. And I'm thinking about Carlos. Carlos, you got to contact me. Maybe we start a debate show on Friday mornings. You and me will debate. We'll come up with 2 or 3 topics, maybe even one, to debate for an entire hour. Just a thought. Not sure I'm going to do it, but just a thought, buddy. So But anyway, you guys, please, all of you, follow the show if you aren't already. Please invite your friends to do the same. Oh, good to hear that, Tim. And I hope, please, go to the TGI Sports Talk page. Go to invite your friends. At the top, you'll see a top bar there. You'll see 3 dots. If you click on it, you're going to see a place to invite your friends. Don't invite all of them at once because Facebook will shut you down. But go and invite 10, 20 at a time if you would. We're growing like crazy and we want to keep doing it. So, guys, somehow I got a college football banner up. I have no idea what's going on here. So, anyway, let me finish. I didn't finish. Guys, I'll see you later. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk right here on Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Go Patriots. Enjoy your Sunday football. I will see you soon. Keith Angle out. Bye-bye.